Kid Rock appeared last night at a Trump rally, and as expected, he had a lot to say. Plus, Kirk Hammett speaks on his bandmate James Hetfield's sobriety, and Corey Taylor goes off on anti-maskers. We got a lot to get to. Stick with us. Good afternoon and welcome to Rock Feed. Thanks so much for joining us today and every day. If you're new here, please consider subscribing with notifications on so you don't miss out on breaking news and updates about your favorite band. Best way to support the channel. All right, before we get to this Kid Rock story, let's talk a little bit of Metallica here. There has been some questions apparently about the fact that Metallica sells a whiskey and a beer, and it's hard to gloss over the fact that recently James Hetfield went to rehab last year, and that was something that was very serious. And so Kirk Hammett was asked during a recent interview if there was any sort of a weird dynamic given the fact that James had been to rehab and they're selling this whiskey, and he had a very interesting response. This is what he had to say in a new interview with the Daily Star. He says, "You can't compare the two things. James' struggle to get dry is a completely personal matter mentally and emotionally. The fact that we produce, bottle, and sell alcohol is totally independent of this. It's completely up to you whether you drink it or not. And I think I can sell what I want. If I were a diabetic, that wouldn't mean that I couldn't sell sweets." And he says that the band is completely behind James in his efforts to get sober. I'll get to that in just a second, but I want to comment on what he just said there. I think he's absolutely right about that. I don't think that there's an issue with them selling these products, which he's benefiting from, for those who can drink responsibly and those that don't have those sort of issues. I don't think that James Hetfield has any problem with anybody else choosing to drink if they can do so responsibly. I don't think everything has to be so cut and dry. I think there's nuance to all of this, and certainly the other members of Metallica probably still enjoy a drink from now and then, every now and then, and that doesn't say anything about James Hetfield, and you can support him at the same time. It would be maybe a little bit different if they were chugging whiskey and passing the bottle around in front of James, but that does not seem to be what is going on here. They say, we hold a virtual meeting once a week to keep in touch. James is working his way out of his situation, and we can really only try to support him. We told you last month the members of Metallica said they really didn't even see James return to rehab coming. James seemed like he was fine, but then you look back and you try to analyze the situation over time where you see the red flags. Being on the road can be very challenging, and I can only imagine for James to get up there in front of all those people and have to be on. Meanwhile, your family's not with you and all these things are going on. It builds up. He's absolutely right. And for the record, Metallica's whiskey is very, very good. And moving on, Slipknot and Stone Sour vocalist Corey Taylor is prepping for his big live stream that he's got coming up, which is going to be called Forum or Against Him. It's actually being performed at the Forum in Los Angeles on October 2nd at 5 p.m. Eastern, the same day that his solo album comes out. And he says there will be pyro and everything that you would expect, a full band, and this will be pro shot. And again, of course, it will be live. And so with all of that said, Corey's currently on a press run to promote the solo album, and he appeared on Let There Be Talk with Dean Del Rey, his podcast, and he was asked about people who are basically balking at the idea of wearing masks in public places. Corey, who lives in Las Vegas, speaking on the numbers in his area, he says it burned up again, the infection rate, because our mayor is a dipshit. The thing is it's gonna keep doing that until it evens out, man. It's gonna keep doing it until we get a vaccine, to be honest, or at least something that can prevent it. Vegas, it's up and down. There's still a bunch of mooks with no mask on at the casinos, and actually the people who were there, tourists or visitors or whatever, were giving shit to the people who were wearing masks. That's enough for me to just go, you know what, F you. It's like, not everything has to be a political statement. It's better to just be cautious. It's better to be smart. You want to walk around with no mask on, you go ahead and spin the barrel and let's see how many times you can click it. But these people who are actually trying to be preventative, there's no reason to give them a rash of shit. They weren't saying anything to you. It's just ridiculous, man. That's the shit people are talking about. The fact that people are just minding their own business and a bunch of garbage falls out of people's faces, and it just keeps the wheel spinning. Maybe if you just kept some of this to ourselves, maybe it would just quiet down. And I think he makes a fair point there. I just want to point out that sometimes people, they read these headlines about Corey and they think that he's just, going around and walking up to people and saying, here's what I think about masks. But, these things come up in conversations during interviews. And it's not as if he's sitting there saying everyone should be wearing a mask at all times. And, I don't think that if you're sitting outside at a park that you need to be wearing a mask and, you're by yourself chilling or chilling with somebody you live with. But with that said, obviously going up to somebody who chooses to wear a mask if they want to, obviously, why would you do that? That's a real jerk move to just go up to someone who wants to wear a mask, or you're being mandated to wear a mask. Like where I am, you're mandated to wear a mask inside at this point. I'm not sure why anybody would do that. Be nice to each other. We need more of that in the world right now. And let's move on and let's talk about Kid Rock. Kid Rock appeared yesterday in Michigan at a rally in support of Trump's re-election. And he's been a vocal supporter of the president. You know where he stands on that issue for years. He's a friend of him. I guess they golf together. And so he appeared last night at this rally, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. You could expect that there would be some fireworks at this event, and as always, Kid Rock did deliver. He said he's working on a documentary about his career, and he's also, dealing with some pain, and he had to get some steroids in his neck to be able to perform yesterday. But nonetheless, he talked about a bunch of different topics, and one of the things that he shared, which he has done in the past, is he went off about people who are choosing to kneel for the national anthem. And he's spoken about that in the past. This is a real sticking point for Kid Rock. And this is what he said about this in the past. He was performing back in 2017 at the Iowa State Fair, and he said, "Football is about to start. F Colin Kaepernick," and he said some other things throughout the years, but obviously he hit on this issue again yesterday while performing. So first, here was what he had to say when he was introduced at his performance by Donald Trump Jr.
My buddy Bob, many of you may know him as Kid Rock.
I just want to know one thing. You should probably hear the code on your phone right now. This goddamn fake media don't say this didn't happen. Because if you believe on the leadership of Donald Trump, if you believe in more leadership of Donald Trump, that you live and will always live and support, stand for the greatest country in the world, make some damn noise!
Right after that, if he doesn't launch into Ball with the Ball, I'm going to be very disappointed. My name is Kid!
Bobby, thank you very much, and thank you guys very much, okay?
All right, so he goes on to perform during the show, and during the performance, this is where he kneels and he makes some comments about that.
And this is the only time I'll take a motherfucking knee, I'll tell you that much. We're gonna save that. I will say one thing though, that I truly believe that I've heard said. I want to see everybody do well in this country. Everybody. But I don't believe that you make the poor rich by making the rich poor. Yeah, fuck that. I guess I'll stick to my day job, huh?
So there you have it. Kid Rock, never one to hold back his opinions or stir controversy. That's to say the least. It's going to be interesting to see. You can see the camera crews there that were working on the documentary that's career spanning for him. Again, there's a lot of stuff that's happened over the course of Kid Rock's career. It'll be very interesting to see that documentary when it comes out. I'm a big fan of documentaries and biopics of rock musicians. So anyways, folks, that is all for now. Thanks so much for joining us again. If you're new here, please subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on breaking news and updates. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you all very soon.